All right, number 12. Benji Ahuji says, is nepotism a sin? My church was founded by my grandma. My dad is the senior pastor, and my brother is a youth leader. I do believe they legitimately earn these roles, but others at my church don't. I'm not sure. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about how, I wonder if I could turn this up a little bit. See if we hear that in the video. Why don't you guys let me know if you hear the fan, if I make it a little bit louder. You've got to hear that. I don't know. Let me know if you hear that in the live chat. I'll look. I was thinking about this recently, the issue of nepotism, and I think that we overreact to it. I do. Now, I don't have anything like that going on that I'm like ashamed of or something like that. And I've never had a job or something like that because of who my parents are. So I'm not like relying on it in some sense. But I'm not sure that it's all bad. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it that way. I'm not sure that it's all bad when you say nepotism, or like say you have two equally qualified candidates for a job, and one of them is your son and one of them's not. I don't know why it's wrong to pick your son. Now, if you have your son's underqualified and you put him into that position anyways, that would be a negative. So when I say I don't think nepotism's always wrong. Okay, don't think you hear anything. Good. Yeah. Good. Glad to hear it, because it's getting so warm in this room. It's just a hot day out. I haven't dialed in exactly how I'm doing all this stuff. Thanks, chat. I see you. I hear you. Okay. So I'm asking my personal opinion, and then I'm going to talk about some scripture in a minute. So my personal opinion is nepotism is not inherently wrong. It can be wrong. And when it can be wrong is when you give people positions that they shouldn't have. Like, this is the wrong person for this job, but they have it merely because of a relation or favoritism of some kind. Now, that would be, to me, where I would say there's a problem. So nepotism that is effectively, oh yes, this person who I'm related to is just as qualified as this other person over here, or at least they can sufficiently do the job, and I'm going to prefer them over this person. And I'm like, I don't know that that's all that wrong. Because in scripture, we do have a lot of familial connections. So we have people being appointed to do things because they're genetically related to other people. Like the kingships of Israel is a genetic thing. So when David appointed Solomon instead of somebody else, instead of like some total stranger who just would have been maybe a good king, you could call that nepotism. And so if you're completely anti-nepotism, I think that's gonna be hard to be consistent with saying that like Solomon was the right man for the job, because he admits that he's incapable. David calls him like a child, effectively, as he's putting him in there. Like, he just got in because he's related. Like, the genetics was important there. The appointment of the high priests in Israel and of the priesthood in Israel was entirely nepotistic. Is that a word? Because all of the Levites were to be the priests, and it was entirely because of what the Levites had done long ago, when Israel was moving towards apostasy, and the golden calf incident, and the Levites rallied towards God, right? And so they become the tribe that produces all the priests of Israel. Is that nepotism? Like, in a very big sense, it's like a big giant chunk of nepotism. But is that bad? I don't think it's bad in that scenario. So I just think we have to have some nuance that's going on there. So if you have a church where you've got, a bunch of family and they're all in ministry, I don't automatically think there's a problem there. Oh, the pastor is this guy, and his son is the associate pastor, and his daughter's running the children's ministry stuff, and then, his wife does the accounting. Well, are they good at it? Like, that's the question I'd have. Are they capable? Are they, can they sustain the job well? Do they do a good job? And if the answer is that they're doing a good job, great. But if they're disqualified, if they're doing a bad job and they shouldn't be there, and they're only in because they're related, then it's a negative nepotism problem. But really, I'll put it this way. Ignore the nepotism for a second. Ignore the fact that they're related and just ask, if they weren't related, would they still have this job? And that might give you a clue. But you got to be careful when you're trying to evaluate whether you think the people in ministry at your church deserve the job and the role that they have and how well you think they do. Let me just speak openly about this for a minute. As a pastor, you learn, and even more so now with online ministry stuff, there are so many eyeballs on you. And I don't want to woe is me here. And pastors, you got to be careful that you don't take this the wrong way. And I'm not giving you an excuse to get all woe is me. And we have to be really thick-skinned and tough about things, and not give ourselves space to be crybabies. That said, you'd be surprised how many people are not only critical of you at being in ministry because you're very visible. A lot of people are aware of you. A lot of people are aware of what you're doing, or they think they're aware of what you're doing. So as a youth pastor, I would be doing things in youth ministry, spending all my time and all my energy and all my blood, sweat, and tears for youth ministry. And I had people in the congregation who sometimes would judge my effectiveness in youth ministry. They had never been in the youth ministry. They had never talked to me about youth ministry, but they had firm opinions about how effective I was at that ministry, about whether I should even be there or not. They had firm opinions about what I taught in youth ministry. They had never heard me teach in youth ministry. And so just be cautious that because you're familiar with a person doesn't mean you're actually really familiar with their ministry. Because you see a person, they're visible, doesn't mean that you're in a place to make a judgment call on whether they belong there or not, or if it's nepotism or not. I'm just saying be gracious, be cautious, be slow to make a judgment call and things like that. That just seems wise.